The flat-bottomed skiff wasn't even halfway to the pier when I caught the sound of sirens wailing down Pine Hollow Lane. Two cruisers screeched around the bend into our sleepy cul-de-sac, their red and blue lights slicing through the calm afternoon haze. And right there, standing at the edge of my front yard like a human flare gun, was Eleanor Buckley, self-declared head of the Whispering Pines Waterways Committee, waving both arms like she was guiding in a medevac and barking into her phone. "He's breaching restricted lake space," she howled, her voice echoing off the water. "He launched an unauthorized vessel. I demand immediate detainment." The first officer stepped out, adjusted his utility belt, and began making his way toward me. I let the throttle ease and allowed the current to guide my boat the last few feet to the dock. That's when the officer paused, eyes narrowing at the badge clipped to my belt. "Major Cross?" he asked, blinking in surprise. "Hey there, Williams," I replied with a nod. Eleanor's phone slipped from her grasp and clattered onto the sidewalk. Her jaw flapped like a beached trout. "That's right," I said casually, tying off the bullion. "You just dialed 911, on the former head of Inland Water Enforcement. Let me take you back and explain how this absurdity unraveled. My name is Major Grant Cross. After 25 years with the State Department of Environmental Protection, I had finally retired. All I wanted was peace, somewhere I could fish, build birdhouses, and forget the bureaucracy. I'd bought my home outright on Pine Hollow Bluff, a modest place with a boat ramp, dock, and, most importantly, legal water rights deeded into the property. The nonsense began the morning after I unpacked. I was sorting through lures when a woman in crisp beige cargo pants and a name tag striding like a drill sergeant approached the shoreline. She looked like she'd just stepped out of a catalog titled, Suburban Surveillance Weekly, complete with a cap embroidered, Lake Compliance Officer. "Excuse me," she barked in a tone you'd reserve for a dog chewing on a shoe. "I'm Eleanor Buckley, Waterways Enforcement Chair. Your vessel isn't on our community registry." I glanced up from my rod. "That's because there's no recognized registry here, Ms. Buckley. I have full deeded lake rights." Her cheeks flushed crimson. "I founded the Whispering Pines Lake Authority 3 years ago," she snapped. "We oversee all aquatic activity in this area." "Interesting," I said, returning to my hooks. "But I own this slice of shoreline. Appreciate the concern, but no thanks." She scribbled furiously on a clipboard. "You'll be hearing from us." And oh, I did. Within a week, envelopes began arriving like angry pigeons. The first one claimed I was in violation for docking without a community nautical clearance. The next slapped me with a $45 wake risk fee. The third, my personal favorite, cited me for non-standard angling implements and rogue bait. Eleanor had essentially manufactured an entire regulatory agency from scratch. She even printed IDs labeled Lake Patrol Official and wore them like military medals on a lanyard. I watched one morning from my deck as she stormed over to poor Mr. Donnelly's dock and demanded his life vest certification paperwork. The guy was just trying to fish with his grandson. Instead, he got a lecture about flotation densities and unauthorized foam types. When I skipped her so-called mandatory water orientation seminar, things got strange. One afternoon, I came home from the co-op to find a laminated citation taped to my front door. In bold red letters, "Noncompliance Notice, Unverified Vessel Activity," followed by an itemized list of fictitious violations, including failure to declare trolling, radius, and dock clutter. I tossed it straight into the recycling bin. But Eleanor didn't give up. She started showing up uninvited, snapping photos from the street, sometimes setting up little orange cones labeled Active Marine Zone in front of my house. When I hosted a cookout, she intercepted guests in the driveway, insisting they register for temporary aquatic permits. My neighbor, Carl, clued me in. "She's been pulling this stunt for years," he said. "Started the minute she found out there was no WA covering the lake. Made one up and started collecting fees. Most folks just pay the $20 monthly to get her off their backs." "But you." "I'm not most folks," I replied. I'd spent a career enforcing real laws. I wasn't about to let some clipboard warrior invent fake ones. Things came to a head one sunny Saturday in July. I'd invited a few friends from the department over for a quiet fishing trip, retired folks like me. We were gearing up at the dock, laughing about old cases, when here came Eleanor, stomping like a storm. She had binoculars in one hand, phone in the other, and a face twisted in fury. "This gathering is in breach of group activity protocol," she screeched. You need a recreational assembly permit to conduct aquatic excursions. Eleanor, I said evenly. Please step off my dock. I'm in charge here, she shrieked, waving a gold badge that looked like it came from a cereal box. As the appointed lake officer, I demand compliance. And I'm telling you, you're trespassing. Her face turned grape purple. That's it, I'm calling 911. You're probably running an illegal fishing racket. This is environmental endangerment. My buddy Rick, a retired sheriff, just sighed. Is she for real? Oh, she's dead serious, I muttered. Eleanor stomped to the boundary line and launched into a 911 call so dramatic it deserved an Oscar. She rattled off terms like clandestine boat ring, hazardous activity, and possible eco-crime. Then we waited. When Officers Williams and Ortega arrived, they exited their cars with hands cautiously near their belts, ready for whatever chaos Eleanor had described. Then Williams spotted me and did a double take. Major Cross, what's going on? Just a fishing trip, Williams. This lady seems to think it's a felony. Ortega looked over at Eleanor, who was now retreating, eyes darting. Ma'am, you claimed environmental terrorism. He asked. There's unauthorized boat traffic. She stammered. And they're violating Wall Lake guidelines. Williams raised an eyebrow. Major, you own this dock. Yep, deeded rights and all. And your guests, all retired officers, here to relax. Ortega pulled out his notepad. Ma'am, are you aware false 911 reports are a criminal offense? You claim terrorism when this appears to be a civil dispute, over a fake lake committee. Eleanor's jaw dropped. No words, but I had plenty. Officers, I'd like to file a formal complaint for harassment, misuse of emergency services, and trespassing. This woman has been targeting me and others with an imaginary HOA. The next few weeks were a beautiful symphony of justice. Once I filed the complaint, the city stepped in. Turns out Eleanor had built her little water patrol office on undeveloped parkland, completely unzoned. Code enforcement arrived with a warrant and found stacks of fake IDs, bogus citations, and ledger books showing she collected over $42,000 in lake dues over 3 years. They fined her $7,500 for the illegal structure. The county prosecutor launched a fraud investigation. Meanwhile, the actual HOA, which only governed landscaping and trash bins, not the lake, held a special meeting. I showed up in my old uniform, just for effect. Eleanor was asked to explain her marine operations to a packed clubhouse of outraged neighbors who'd unknowingly paid her fake fees. She brought visual aids, a trifold board with glittery letters spelling, Whispering Pines Water Command. At the top, a hand-drawn chart showing her as Chief Admiral of Aquatic Order. Her rules included things like, no canoes on Sundays, and inspection of boat sandals mandatory. Someone filmed the whole thing. It went viral within days. The title, Lake Lady vs. Retired Enforcement Officer, Guess Who Wins? Over 2 million views. Eleanor tried to spin it as an effort to protect natural resources, but when asked for legal documentation, licenses, or training, she had nothing. Just laminated nonsense and a power trip. The HOA banned her permanently. The county charged her with fraud, impersonation, and misappropriation of funds. She faced up to 5 years in prison and nearly $50,000 in restitution. When the charges were read in court, she fainted right there at the defense table. Medics revived her just in time for the judge to list the felony counts. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. As for me, these days, I fish in peace. No more cones, no more citations, just the sound of the water, the birds, and freedom from fake authority.